Hey guys, what's going on? This is Seth from REtipster, and in this video I'm going to show you an overview of how to create a real estate buying website with WordPress. Now, as you probably know, there's all kinds of different reasons why you can create a website in your real estate business. I think for most people, probably the first reason that comes to mind is when you're trying to sell properties and you need sort of a home base to list all those properties and make them look pretty with pictures and all that stuff. Other potential uses for a real estate website would be like a landing page when you're trying to build a buyer's list, or even a blog. I've got videos and tutorials that show how to do all that stuff. However, this particular kind of website, a buying website, I think is probably the most important kind of website, at least in my business. And it's also the most functional. And fortunately, it's actually not that complicated to set up, especially when you have the right WordPress theme that sort of puts everything in place for you so that you don't have to monkey around and try to find things all over the internet to make the thing work. It just kind of works right out of the box. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So the WordPress theme I'm going to show you in this video is called REI Landleads, and it's put together by this company called REI Conversion. And the reason I want to really draw your attention to this particular theme is because I'm actually an advisor for this company, and a lot of the way this theme works is directly influenced by yours truly. I was fortunate enough to be pretty involved in the development and initial testing of this theme, and I had a lot of input into how this thing works. So REI Conversion has other themes for other types of real estate businesses as well, but particularly if you're running a land business, I cannot point you to a better theme than this one. It's just taken a lot of important things into consideration. It includes pretty much all the functionality that land investors need and none of the functionality that they don't need. So this right here is the demo of REI Landleads, just to give you an idea for what it looks like. We'll open this up. And this is pretty much what you see. The entire theme is not broken up into multiple pages, but when somebody lands on your website, it's just one long page, which I really like because it very quickly draws your attention to the most important elements on the page, the actual action steps that you want the person to do. We've got the contact information and the logo up here if you want to include those things, and a nice video, which you actually get for free. And you can also obviously create your own video too if you want to be a little bit more unique. But this video by itself, just right out of the box, is like ready to go and it looks great. And then also when you scroll down here, you can include testimonials, more direction and instruction about what you want people to do. You can explain how the process works. You can see the form again. You can even add your frequently asked questions here, which people are most definitely going to have when they just find out about you and land on your website. So it's important to make those answers very clear and readily available. And it's all right there on one page. So people don't have to go searching all over the place to find the information they need. So if you do want to check out this particular theme, I'm going to include a link to it beneath this video. And I don't necessarily think you need to use this theme in order to do this. I actually used a different theme for a lot of years that served me very well, called Agent Press Pro. I've got a whole separate video tutorial on how to use that one. So I'm not telling you have to do this. However, I just think this particular theme gets you most of the way there with the least amount of work. It requires a heck of a lot less tinkering around with if you just want to see the end product and see it fully functional as quickly as possible. So I've already got access to the theme, so I'm going to go here to my account and just show you where you can download it once you do sign up. You'll have this little tab over here called Downloads. And then there it is right here, REI Landleads. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. It's going to give me this activation key, so I want to copy that. But once you've got your theme, all you got to do is go over here to Appearance, and then you click on Themes. And also, just in case you're not already aware, a theme is basically something that just layers all the design elements on your website and puts everything in its proper place. As you probably know, right after you put together a fresh WordPress install, it's set up by default to act like a blog, and that's not really at all what we're trying to do here. And so unless you install a theme that's actually going to put everything in the right place for your website, it's going to look like something really ugly like this, which doesn't really look like much of anything. That's the purpose of having a theme. And of course, WordPress does come with a handful of free themes by default, which is totally fine if you're trying to run a blog. But if you're not, that's when you'd want to get a theme that's actually going to serve the purpose you have in mind. So we would go up here to Appearance, Themes, and then click on Add New. And then we're going to click on Upload Theme. And we're going to find that theme zip file that we just downloaded, which is right here. And we're just going to simply drag it right over here onto this choose file button and then click install now. And then after a few seconds, you should see that the theme was installed successfully. And then you're going to click activate. And that's going to actually put that theme to work on your website. Of course, it's going to ask for this license key, which we just copied on the earlier screen. So I'll paste that in there. And then agree and activate a license. And then you're going to see a page like this. And then one thing I'll just point out is that REI Conversion has like really solid customer service, which is something I've never seen from any other WordPress theme developer before. Every other WordPress theme I've ever had has literally zero customer service. You're pretty much on your own and you have to figure out all this stuff with no help from anybody. At the very most, that theme developer might give you access to a handful of tutorials, and REI Landleads has those tutorials as well, and they're really, really well done. All you got to do is click on this knowledge base, and it's going to open up a new window, and you'll see pretty much everything you'll need to know about getting your theme up and running, all in these tutorials right here. I went through most of these the first time I was setting up my theme, and they're all very, very helpful, and they think of pretty much everything you'll encounter. So definitely refer back to this liberally, but just to save you some time, I'm going to just continue going through this process. Once you've got REI Landleads installed, first thing you're going to do is click on Let's Start. And this right here is another one of the huge value adds that you'll get from using this particular theme. So normally whenever you install a new WordPress theme, it's going to require that you do a lot of hunting around to find the right plugins and then install them individually on your website so that your website actually does the right thing. And that's assuming you even know which plugins you're supposed to get. Well, REI Landleads totally understands that, and rather than making you go out and find them all, you can install them all with just a couple mouse clicks. I'll show you how easy and awesome this is. Just go down here and click Start, and it's going to go to work. And normally this process takes a few seconds to find all those plugins and install them. However, on this particular website that I'm showing you here, all those plugins have already been installed previously, so it just kind of shot right to the next step. But just so you know, it would normally take a few seconds for all that stuff to happen. So we can go ahead and click Next. And then it's going to import all of the demo content that you see here on this demo. For example, like images you see like this, the fonts and the colors and the pictures in the background. So it's basically going to give you a site right out of the box that looks pretty much exactly like this. So that's what's going to happen when we import that demo content. So let's go ahead and click this. And then it's going to take a few seconds to install all that stuff. As you can see, the little progress percentage moving along. And I cut out some of that installation time, but just so you know, it took about 30 seconds for all that stuff to happen. And now the next step is to install some of the pre-made forms into this theme so that the forms, like this one, for example, are there and they work properly. So let's go ahead and do that. And to import the forms, it's probably the most manual part of this process, but it's pretty easy. I'll show you exactly how that works right here. So we're going to go back to this theme zip file and open it up. We're going to unzip it. And then we'll open this and get into the folders, and we're going to go to this ink folder here and then demo. And then we see these two form files right here. This first one right here is this thing that you see right there. And then the second form here is the longer version of the form. It's probably the most important aspect of the website overall. It's part of what makes this website so useful and functional. So we'll have to install that as well. So let's go ahead and do the first one. We'll just grab this and drag it right over there and import form. Okay, so the first one is done, pretty easy. And let's do the second one now. Put that right there, import form again. Alrighty, now the second one is done too. So if we go ahead and open up the website again, let's see how different it looks now that all that stuff has been installed. All right, there you go. So it's pretty much the same thing as the demo. It's pretty much ready to go. And part of what makes this theme so great is the fact that like everything is pretty much done for you. Like if you wanted to, you could pretty much launch this site right now without doing a whole lot other than maybe updating your logo, your phone number, any other specifics that pertain to your business or any specific answers you would want to put in here. As you can see, this doesn't actually give any answers. You would have to enter that in yourself. However, a lot of these questions here were actually questions that I came up with and suggested to be included here just because I know that they're really important questions that people want to know about. These are the same questions I answer on my buying website. And then also, like, you would want to actually explain your own about your company type thing and put your own information here. So there's at least a few things you'll definitely want to do before you actually launch this thing. But also there's some other things that I don't think are vital, but are still somewhat important, because the greatest strength of this kind of theme is also in some ways the greatest weakness. Because if you got a bunch of people that are buying the same thing, and if they don't change anything about how it looks, then, you know, your website isn't really going to be all that unique. And the uniqueness of your website may or may not matter depending on if there's any other competitors in your market or any other people who are trying to do the exact same thing as you. But in my opinion, I always try to do at least a few things to make my website just kind of stand on its own so that it doesn't look identical to a lot of other sites out there. And some of those things that are really easy to do are obviously getting your own unique logo. It's also really easy to update these pictures in the background with super high quality pictures that are free to use. It's also super easy to update this video here if you want to. Again, I think this video is pretty solid, but if you did want to have your own version or make it more personal with your own face on it, it's pretty easy to do that. And then I would also probably change up some of the copy just so that it says, you know, exactly the kinds of things that I would say and doesn't just mimic what this theme says right out of the box. If you have any real testimonials, and by the way, if you don't, it's not a bad idea to get a handful of those. But if you do have your own legitimate testimonials, you can obviously add one of those right here. I would definitely come up with some answers to these questions because they're all pretty important, and pretty much any serious seller who visits your site is going to be wondering about these things. So I would take some time to answer these. And yeah, I'll just quick jump into this and show you how you can go about editing some of these things. And also just a quick reminder, pretty much everything I'm about to show you is all explained here as well, but I'll just show you firsthand how it's done and how easy it is. So let's go back over here to Pages. And there's not a whole lot of pages you have to worry about here. It's pretty much just this home page that I've been showing you. So let's go ahead and click Edit right here. And one of the plugins that gets installed when you put this theme on your site is something called Elementor, which actually took me a little while to get the hang of, but once I did, I realized it's actually pretty easy to work with, a lot easier than trying to work without this kind of plugin. And it basically just helps to arrange the content on your site so that it's easier to move things around if and when you want to. So right here, if I wanted to change anything about what this language says right up here at the top, I could do that literally just by clicking on it. And then over here, I see the box where I can edit what it says. And then you just click on the next section here and change it however you want. And keep in mind, if you wanted to move where the video is positioned relative to this form, you could just click on this and drag it up and put it right there if you wanted. I personally kind of like where it's at, so I'm just going to leave it there. And also, if you do want to change up the video that's in here, it's really easy to do that. You just have to go over here and right click on this thing right there, click Edit Video, and then right over here you're going to see a link to the video that's on this page. And if you had your video uploaded to Vimeo or YouTube or wherever, you just want to get that link and overwrite it right here. Just paste it in there and it will automatically populate right there in that little section of the site. So that's really easy to do. You can also change up the image overlay, say if you have like a certain thumbnail that you want to display over that. I think you can actually do that by default in Vimeo itself or within YouTube, but if you wanted to host that image right here just to make it look a little bit different, it's really easy to do that too. Now, whenever you're happy with all the changes you've made, you just click this update button and it will make sure all that stuff actually saves. It's very important to actually click that or nothing you did is going to remain in place. Likewise, whenever you see literally anything on this page that you want to change, it's just as easy as what I just showed you. You just click on it right here and then you can go over here and edit what that text says. Now, when it comes to these background images, which I actually think are pretty important to change up, again, if you want your website to look unique, it's very easy to do that too. You would just click on the image itself and then click on this thing and then click on style, and then you're going to see this image right there. And there's actually a few websites that make it super easy to get awesome high quality images that are free to use. You don't have to pay for them. You don't have to include any image attribution or any of that nonsense. You can just literally take them and use them for whatever you want. And one of those websites is called unsplash.com, which is this one right here. I've used this for years for all kinds of things. It's probably my favorite one. There's also another one called Pixabay, which is very, very similar. And then pexels.com as well. And they'll do pretty much the same thing. But I'm just going to go here and search for, like, I don't know, landscape images to try to find a nice pretty picture of land. Or in this case, we might actually want to get a picture that's less pretty, because remember, we're talking to somebody who doesn't want their land anymore and they're trying to get rid of it. So if anything, we might even want to underscore the fact that, hey, this land is a problem in your life. Remember, you want to get rid of it. You want to accept a very lowball offer, that kind of thing. So if there was ever a time when I would give you full permission to use an uglier picture of land, this would be the time to do that. So I'm actually going to look for one maybe that has like kind of like dull colors, or maybe like black and white colors or something like that. Maybe something like this might work. So I'll go ahead and download that one. Let's see if I can find a few others. Maybe something like this might work. Maybe something like that. Maybe something like this. I think there's actually a pretty distinct difference between a picture of land that's ugly versus a picture of land that's low quality. We don't really want low quality, like super low resolution or anything like that, but it's not the brightest, happiest, most sunshiny picture of a property as well. So I think we've got a few pictures here. Let's go back to the site and we'll start making these updates. So I'm going to click on choose image, and then I'll grab this first one and just drag it over here to the browser, and that'll upload automatically. And then there we go. Insert media, and then there you see that picture I just uploaded. And that's a unique image that most likely no other users are going to be using, at least not right there. We can do the same thing here. Go ahead and click on this, go to style again, and then select this thing and choose a different image. You get the idea. It's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to do. Then also, if we want to change up some of the text here, we would just click on that. And again, we can go ahead and edit that over here. Pretty self-explanatory once you understand how to edit that text. Now, something else you'll notice from time to time throughout this site are these little short codes that are built in. And what this is doing is this is actually pulling information from another part in the site. So whatever information you enter in those fields, it's going to go over here and automatically fill this in. This comes into play here on the home page, and then also on the property submission form, which I'll show you in just a second. So first of all, let's go ahead and update this. And another super important thing you need to know about is where you can go and customize the site. So let's go ahead and exit to dashboard, and then we're going to go over here to appearance and then customize. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So the first thing you'll want to do is click on layout, and you'll see a few sub options that pop up here. First of all, site identity. So the title of our site is not going to be REI Landleads. It's going to be whatever the name of our company is. I could go right in here and just ABC Real Estate LLC, or whatever you want to put in there. And if you have some kind of tagline, you can put that in there. I personally don't have one at all for my company, so I'm just going to delete that. And if you wanted to display that right up here at the top instead of this logo, you could do that. However, I think it's usually probably better to just have an actual logo. And then you'd also want to find that logo image and upload it right here, which was the exact same way we did it before, where we grabbed that image and just dragged it onto the screen and uploaded it. Once you find that here in your media bin, you just select it as your main thing. And once you select that, it's also going to give you the option to crop that image. So if it's not sized perfectly by default, you can sort of move this box around so that it displays it just right. Click crop image. And then do the same thing here and crop the image again. And there you go. And then obviously, if you are going to use a logo, then you do not want to have this box checked. We'll want to uncheck that. And then also when we go back here, call to action, this is the text that shows up here. So if you wanted to change that, it's really easy to do that. And then obviously you'll want to put a real legit phone number in there, not like the one I'm just putting in here now. And you can also change this so that when the person clicks on that phone number, it'll actually call from their computer if they have everything set up correctly. So just make sure you put that in here as well. When we talk about the footer here, that's the logo and information that shows right up here at the very bottom. So if you want a different logo to show up there, you would have to get that and upload it as well. And also something I should mention while we're on the topic of logos is that wherever you get your logo from, it is important to make sure you're getting that logo with a transparent PNG file. So definitely keep that in mind if you haven't gotten your logo yet. And then also down here, the owner. So this is where we can actually change up the things that show up here in these short codes I was talking about earlier. So we could say Seth Williams here, and we could change up our title, whatever that happens to be. We can change up the company name. And then our phone number too, and whatever we put in here, it's going to automatically populate all throughout the site wherever these short codes show up. So you'll notice whatever I put in here affects what shows down here and there and there and there, and even down here this little copyright thing. So if you want to change that stuff and do it the right way, you would want to go over here to this customize area and do it that way. And then once we've got all this stuff set up the way we want, we got to click publish to actually make it go live on the site. And then also, that's not it. There's a few other things you'll want to keep in mind here that you can play around with. Probably the main thing I draw your attention to is the colors section. And I'm not even telling you that you need to mess with this. However, again, when it comes to making your website look unique, this is another way you can do that. If you have a color template set up for your company or your brand, which is totally not a must, but it can kind of help at just creating your overall brand image. And by the way, it's very, very easy to do this with a website called Coolers. I'll show you that quick. It's over at coolers.co. It basically just gives you like an infinite number of different color schemes that you can use for your website. And all the colors are actually going to go together. So you don't have to be an expert at color matching to do it. It'll just work with this software. And you really just hit the space bar until you see something you like. You just keep going and going and going and going. You get the idea. And say if you do see one color you like but you don't like the others, it's very easy to just click this lock thing to keep that color in place. And then when you keep pushing the space bar, it's going to continue showing you other options that all go with this particular color. So like I like this one too. I'm going to lock that in place. I'll lock this one in place too, and then keep it going. And it'll just keep showing me option after option after option until I see something I like. And when I see that, I just click the lock button, keep going until I find all the options that I think are going to go with my brand. Boom. Now, once we've got all these colors in place, the nice thing is it shows us this hex code down here. So we would just have to copy and paste that over onto the site right here. So say for the secondary color, the color that shows on all these buttons, all that I have to do is select this and then copy and paste that in there. And it's going to update that color right here. Now, I'm not telling you that that's the right color to use or anything, but I'm just saying if you want to change it around, that's how you can do that. And then this website will basically just make it really easy to find colors that are all going to work together. So keep that in mind as well. I'll go ahead and link to that and all the other websites I've mentioned so far beneath this video if you want to check those resources out. And they're all free, which is the best part about them. So let's go ahead and publish this. And there are some other things beneath here. Say if you wanted to hire a developer to like really go to town and change up lots of stuff. There are other things you can monkey around with. However, I think for like 99% of the users out there, you're not really going to have to touch any of these things here. So we'll go ahead and get out of there. We'll head back to the dashboard. And then let's open this site up again just to see where we're at. And something I want to show you when it comes to the functionality of this site and why it's so awesome is that when people land on this homepage here, or when we actually tell people manually to enter in our website and visit our homepage, they're not going to have to do much searching or work very hard to do exactly what we want them to do. We're not going to overwhelm them with a huge submission form right out of the gate that's going to take them 20 minutes to figure out. All they got to do is just enter in their basic details to get their cash offer and get the process started. So I'll go ahead and just show you what this looks like. Just say Seth Williams, email address, put that right there. Property state, Washington here. County, let's say Benton County, and get your cash offer. So just in that first step, a few things have happened here that I want to point out that's very, very useful. First of all, it's actually sent a submission email to my inbox. So even if this person decides to bounce, they see this step 2 of the form and it looks like too much and they leave, I still have that information that they just submitted to me. I'll show you what that looks like here. If we go here to my inbox, we can see exactly what I just sent through. So it's pretty straightforward and simple. Now, another thing you're going to see here is that those first little pieces of information that the user filled in are going to be automatically pre-filled in this form. So it already kind of takes just a little bit of the work off their plate. It's really not hard for them to just continue filling out the information. And something else I'll point out here is that when I put together my submission form on my buying website, it's actually a very, very important part of the site, because you don't want the thing to be so long that it overwhelms people and they leave, but you also want to get enough information to work with so you can actually reply to this person with an email that sends them an educated offer, or at least gives you all the information you need to do all your own property research. So it can be kind of a struggle to find that delicate balance, and I spent many, many hours trying to put together the right form on my buying website, which I actually did with a totally different plugin called Gravity Forms. And I actually used to sell this form as a one-off product on my blog, simply because I knew how important it was and I knew how much time it took me to put together, and I saw a lot of other people struggling with doing this same task as well. So I wanted to make that easier for them. Something you get if you purchase this theme is that form is baked into the theme itself. Pretty much all the questions and items you see here are literally from my form. Like, I pretty much wrote the majority of this thing. And along with that comes a lot of the functionality. So for example, when you see this question here that says, "Are you the owner on title?" If a person says yes, they can just keep moving on. If a person says no, it pops out a few additional questions so that they can actually answer who is the owner on title. But unless they click no, they're never going to see that. So the form doesn't look as big as it actually is. It only becomes longer if they need to actually answer those questions, and it's not going to ask questions that aren't relevant to them. So a lot of thought and engineering was put into that. So I just want to point out the importance of that and how useful and beneficial that can be. There's a lot of other instances of this same kind of thing, like down here, do you have any loans or mortgages on the property? If they say no, they just move on. If they say yes, it pops out more information for them to answer. And again, are all your property taxes paid current? If they say yes, all is fair. If they say no, it asks for more information. So you kind of get the idea. There's actually several more instances like that here on this form, but it really just collects all the information that I would normally be asking if I was talking to this person on the phone. But the beauty of it is, with this kind of website, that person just does the work for me, and it doesn't have to eat up 20 minutes of my time having these conversations. It really just pretty much puts that stuff on autopilot. And once they submit this information, this also goes to my inbox. So ideally, I would be getting 2 emails from every person who visits this site and goes through the entire process. However, if they choose to kind of skip town and just leave before finishing this, I'm going to have at least a little bit of information to work with right here. And I can always send them an email if I want to. And there's another pretty remarkable thing about this theme that I'm not going to go into much in this video, but I'm going to make a separate video to show you how it works. And that is called the Automated Offer Plugin. And what this does is, when somebody submits their property information, it takes into account what this person said their estimated market value was of the property, and then it waits a designated amount of time and then sends them an email automatically with an offer in that email that is a small fraction of whatever number they put here. It's obviously not a perfect system, but when the goal is to simply put out some feelers and find out whether or not somebody is willing to entertain a super lowball offer, this pretty much does that all on autopilot so that you don't have to actually manually answer all these emails and send out these offers yourself, which is not hard to do, but when you're getting like dozens and dozens and dozens of these on a regular basis, it does take a little bit of thought and effort to do that, and this theme will just do that for you while you sleep. So it's pretty awesome. Again, I'm going to show you more specifics on how that works in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that as well. But that pretty much sums up the basics of how this theme works. I've just been really impressed with it because this theme was created not just by some like computer geek in their basement who thought they understood what land investors needed to have. It was created by people who are actually in the land flipping business themselves, and I was even able to put my own input into the product you see here. It's not that they took all of my input, but they took a lot of it. And it's just pretty much the best theme I've ever seen for the land business by far. I know you can certainly work with other themes that are a bit less expensive, but they take a ton of work, and they definitely were not designed with the needs of a land investor in mind. So if you're looking for something that really gets you from A to Z with the least amount of work, this is the theme I'm recommending. If the price tag of this theme is just too much, I understand what it's like to be starting a business and you just have limited funds to work with. I'm also going to include a link to the tutorial I put together about Agent Press Pro. If you work with that theme, it's definitely going to take a lot more work, and probably honestly it's going to cost more money in the end because you'll have to hire somebody to do a lot of the work for you unless you're already a WordPress whiz and you know how to do all this. However, I know most of us are not, myself included. Even after working with WordPress for over 10 years, there's still a ton of stuff that I don't understand and I don't know how to do on my own. And that's why a theme like this I think is so important, because it fills a lot of those gaps for you and you don't have to get some third party involved to try to poke around and make the thing work the way it was supposed to work in the first place. So I hope you found this helpful, and I wish you all the best as you're putting together your website.